On this episode of That Black Couple, we will be discussing domestic violence and physical abuse, as we will be exploring the various ways that men in the entertainment and music industries have frequently participated in violence against women, especially Black women. Please take care of yourself and ensure that you are safe and cared for, especially if you are a victim or a survivor of physical abuse or domestic violence. At the end of the episode, we will also share resources and a hotline to support you if you need additional support. Be well. Hey y'all, I'm Jenn. I'm from Oakland and I'm an androgynous Black lesbian feminist and a lover of all Black people.
This is Daren. I'm an asexual novelist, researcher, and bona fide comic book fanatic from the widest part of Southern California.
Orange County. We're queer millennials with 3 kids and nearly 20 years of marriage.
This is a podcast about the realities of Blackness, adulting, and relationships.
This is That Black Couple. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. It's episode 8 of season 6 of That Black Couple. I know that I keep telling people to drink water, but I'm not going to stop telling them to drink water.
This is your daily reminder.
I just feel like the world is on fire, and I feel like everyone is stressed out. I was on the encampment with young people, and I watched the administration at my university ignore them for 16 days. Mm-hmm. I watched my colleagues and comrades all over the country being dragged, kicked, arrested, having to face down guns and batons and riot gear. It's been a really rough time. Yeah. So I just want people to drink some tea or some kombucha or some water, something that actually does something for your body. Like not a sugary soda, not like a energy beverage that just, gives you a spike and then you crash. Like, I just want us to take care of ourselves.
And nourish yourself.
Yeah, because, wow, the world is worlding. So it's episode 8 of season 6. We are talking about abusers and the anatomy of a non-apology. This is a rundown episode, but it's not going to feel like it because we have some very specific things to talk about. And unfortunately, a lot of those things have to do with physical violence, domestic violence, and assaults that we've been watching unfold before our very eyes, whether we wanted to or not.
Yeah.
So have a seat. This is That Black Couple. I'm Jenn.
I'm Daren.
Before we get started, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at That BLK Couple, on Facebook at That Black Couple, and look us up on the internets at www.thatblackcouple.com.
And where can you find us? Anywhere podcasts are streamed. That means Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Pandora.
Oh my God.
All of those places, And if you want to listen to us, you can listen to us on any one of them and then switch to another one and listen to us on there. Share with a friend. Let them know if they want to listen to us on any podcast platform. We're going to be available there, so they can just hop onto anywhere they want to go and find us there.
Also, I just feel like if you're listening on Pandora, I want you to email us.
Yes.
At thatblkcouple@gmail.com. I just don't really believe anyone's on Pandora.
Even better, if you can get like a screenshot or like take a picture
what
of you
Pandora
listening.
Look like?
Yeah, I have not even taken the time to look, but if you are listening on Pandora, I want to see the proof.
And then name the email. I'm listening on Pandora so I can see it, so I find it.
So when it comes in, we immediately click on it.
Thatblkcouple@gmail. You can also email us because you like us and you think we're cute and funny.
Yeah,
but also
that's always welcome.
If you're on Pandora, please email us. Okay, you ready to get started?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so I'm gonna start and say this is a very hard episode for me personally. I think I've shared here on a lot of episodes that I am a survivor of multiple forms of physical and sexual violence just from my childhood and some in my adulthood. And, so this is going to be a pretty serious conversation. Let's start off actually talking about Diddy.
Yep, let's just go right on into it.
Okay. So most people know that Cassie, she's a singer, and she came out years ago and indicated that her then boyfriend, who they were broken up at the time, was abusive toward her. And there was undisclosed information about what this abuse looked like. There were allegations at the time. And those of us who believe victims believed her. A lot of what was alleged was in documents that were not revealed to the public. And so Diddy and his team were able to successfully silence Cassie in some ways. And she also took a settlement at the time. And I think a lot of people, just like with Tory Lanez,
whichever one.
Lonnie, whatever, and Megan Thee Stallion, they started filling in the gaps with their own stories. Well, recently, in the last few days or so, video was leaked from a hotel where Diddy and Cassie were staying. This was almost 10 years ago, so about 8 to 9 years ago. And I refuse to watch the whole video. I will not do that. I won't be doing that. And I hope that folks are not passing it around and watching it. But, I accidentally saw a clip on social media when I was trying to actively avoid it. And I saw, Diddy in a towel, no shirt on, running down the hallway. And the part that I saw, Cassie was bending over. She was kind of in a hoodie and she was bent over. And I saw him grab her. And that's when I immediately shut off everything and got out of that.
Yeah.
So from what I heard from other people who did watch, who were mortified, there is beating and kicking and grabbing and throwing and slamming that is happening in the video. I talked to a friend who lives in New York City, and she said that she was walking through Times Square and it was playing on one of the Megatrons.
Why would you do that?
In Times Square.
Why would you do that?
CNN was playing it. Like, these major news stations thought, oh, this is new, so we'll just play this violent video of this woman who is a person and has children and a spouse and is living her life somewhere. And we're just going to play this video of her being brutalized by this man.
Wow.
And Diddy came out and, ashy lips and stuff and tried to look pitiful and gave the most milquetoast vanilla, I made this shit up and wrote it on a napkin apology. I would like to say Cheska Lee has probably the best satirical response to Diddy's apology that I've seen. It's on Instagram, and she gives us a recipe for his apology, which I think is incredible. So we'll link that in the notes. But in the apology, he hits all the notes of someone who's not actually apologetic. He talks about how much this has hurt him. He never mentions Cassie's actual name. He's not specific about the violence. It's his actions and his choices. He calls in God. So I guess now he's a godly man. He calls in therapy because, when you go to therapy and you're a piece of shit, it just fixes you, and he never really in the apology actually apologizes to Cassie. It actually comes off like he's apologizing to us because we saw it and now we know he's a piece of shit.
Right.
So that's been happening, and it's really awful, especially in the context of what we've been talking about and what we covered in episode 5, thinking about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and talking about the numbers of people who suffer from sexual violence and who often do so in silence because they are not believed, and because there's no air quotes evidence. Unfortunately, in mass society, especially when it's a black man, there's this idea that we need footage. We need an email. We need a text message. We need a picture. We need all these pieces of evidence of violence before a black woman is believed, before a woman of color is believed. Otherwise, she's just trying to get him for his money, right? She just out here trying to slander his name. He was going to buy NBC. You know what I'm saying? So it's just real trifling. And a lot of people online have had to eat crow because they were defending this man and gaslighting people who were like, yeah, we believe this. And they were acting as if Cassie had ulterior motives in sharing her truth.
Right. And to me, this is a textbook case of why you have to believe people, believe women, believe people that have been victimized when they say this is what happened to me. Because Diddy, he came out, for I don't even know how long, saying, "Oh, this is not real. This is all lies. This is a scheme. It's all just to take me down. It's all to hurt me." And now you look at it and we see this video, and basically we see everything that he was saying was all lies. Yeah. And he knows that it was lies. He knew he was lying when he said it.
Of course.
And he's also claiming that in the times that he was lying, that's when he was also in a dark place and going to therapy and trying to work on himself. So what's real? What's true?
So why are you in a relationship? I always wonder that about people when they say I was in a dark place, in such a dark place that I was physically assaulting someone. So why don't you leave them the hell alone?
There's just no personal accountability.
None. So we're going to talk more about that in the conversation. But that's what brought us to this topic today. Also, DJ Akademiks.
And that's the thing. There's just this long history.
Oh yeah, there's a list, and I know you got a list for us.
I got a list, right? And DJ Akademiks is like the newest one.
Yes.
They just kind of came out, and to be honest, usually I don't read into these stories. I don't want to know the backstories because they're terrible and they're tragic, and I don't really need to know the details. This one
is really disgusting.
It's really disgusting. I went back and forth about if I should even say what the story is. I decided against it because it's that bad.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really terrible case of just abuse, and not even just abuse, but then going out and then bragging publicly about the abuse that you did.
Yeah.
Because there's just that belief of, I won't get caught. I won't have any repercussions from this. This behavior is clearly okay. Right. Just really bad. When you think about this list, you realize that there's just a long legacy of this happening, which makes it really obvious why people would think, oh, I'm a celebrity, like nothing is going to stick to me.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, as a high level, I'm not going to give all the details because it's absolutely disgusting and awful. Rolling Stone reported that a young woman named Fazia Abashe filed a suit against Akademiks over 2 incidents that happened in 2022. The 2 were dating in 2021, but the incidents actually happened about a year after they broke up. And according to Abashe, she was invited to Akademiks' house in New Jersey. And in this time that she was there, she was drugged, assaulted, and raped by 2 individuals who were actually there at Akademiks' house. She woke up the next morning and also was being raped by Akademiks. And DJ Akademiks, what I saw, there was a headline that came out, and he essentially said, if I go down, I'm taking down the whole industry. Mm-hmm. He has come out like very much like, oh, all y'all niggas is doing this, so don't act like it's just me.
And the thing about this that's so wild is that there have been all of these rumors that have come out like within the last year about Diddy and the parties that he holds and celebrities that are there and what's going down at these parties.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people making light of it, making jokes about it, making memes about it. And now we see what's happening in real time with Diddy.
Yeah.
And now you see Akademiks saying, oh, if I'm going down, I'm gonna spill all the tea about everybody. And it makes you really, I mean, if you're really taking it on, it makes you go, wow, this is all true.
Right. Usher has talked about how when he was young, 11, 13 years old, there were grown women that he was kind of forced to have sexual interactions with because he was hanging around with people like Russell Simmons
and Diddy.
2 people who ran from the authorities, the police authorities, when they came to get them. Diddy left his children. He left his children.
He left them.
So that they could be arrested, and he wasn't. You know, I mean, it's really, really awful, especially when we start to think about the stories of a lot of young Black men who were coming up in the industry. I think a lot of times about, you know, that the early 2000s era. Like I think a lot about like Raz B, Usher, And even I feel like Justin Bieber has indicated that there's been some inappropriate moments as well where they just kind of were like, yeah, I'm a kid. And these things should not be happening to me. And now with all these stories coming out about even like the shows on Nickelodeon and the way kids were being treated, I just want us to understand that this conversation is much broader than, oh, those women are after his money or those women, wanted it. And all. Those are really, really awful and ignorant responses to this. This is about men with power using their power to harm people both physically and sexually.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a long list. If you go back decade by decade by decade by decade, of people in entertainment having terrible behavior, abusing people, and just basically trying to get away with it. And I thought, it'd be a good idea just to kind of outline over the years some of the people. And I realized very quickly that the whole episode would be me naming names.
Yes.
Because it would be so long.
Yes.
And so what I decided is I would just bring up some of the names of just black people in entertainment. Just some of the black people in entertainment. Just so we have, again, just a foreground in the conversation of there's a legacy of this going on. This is not something that's new. So these are people that have been, accused or known to have or even been convicted of crimes around assault. You got James Brown.
Yep, who people still talk about loving, and he's their favorite, artist of all time.
Known abuser. Like, not a secret, not up for debate.
Never apologized.
Obviously, there's the Bill Cosby. There's R. Kelly, right? That's been going on for who knows how long.
And who knows how many gazillions of defenses people have had for Bill Cosby. He's done so much for black people.
He's done so much against black people.
He's done so much against all people.
You got Charlemagne.
Can we talk about Charlemagne?
We can tarry there for a moment.
Because I feel like one of the issues, I have many issues with Charlemagne, but one of the many issues I have with him right now is he's on a book tour. He's on a book tour, and people are going to his book talks, and he's going to black bookstores. Mm-hmm. And this man came on the radio and described essentially sexually assaulting his own wife. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's times where she's basically asleep, and what? And then she had to come on the radio and be like, "Well, I'm kind of awake. This is what I'm talking about."
But he's at the bookstore. He's still on Breakfast Club
at liberation-oriented bookstores.
This is the problem.
Pro-Palestine bookstores.
This is the problem.
I'm looking at you, Uncle Bobby's.
Ooh.
Anyway.
And it don't stop there, right? Dr. Dre. We've talked about that numerous times.
The gall of naming your brand, Beats by Dre.
I mean, come on.
D. Barnes is still trying to be respected and treated like a person.
Still. You got Dennis Rodman.
Mm-hmm.
You got Nelly.
Can we talk about Nelly?
Oh, we can talk about Nelly.
Everybody loves Nelly now because Ashanti's pregnant.
Oh, it's so cute. Oh.
If y'all could see my face.
Abuser. I'm telling you, all these names, if you're like, what? That's not true. Go to Google.
Look it up.
Type it in. Say Nelly abuser.
Yes.
It'll come right up to the top.
That's right.
Stacey Dash.
Yeah, she's a
also known chronicled abuser.
Yes.
Slash, who some people forget is black,
and he's awful,
but kind of also very terrible,
and he hates women.
Yeah. Extentation, a terrible story. My God, years long.
Yes. Again,
one of those things where you might want to not read that story. It is really
awful.
Stomach
intimidation, isolation. Yeah.
Trey Songz. Chris Brown.
Why are people still downloading Chris Brown songs? This man, and this is the other issue I have. I brought up Chris Brown the other day, and they were like, he served his time for Rihanna. Karrueche Tran came out and was like, I'm afraid of this man. Karrueche Tran had to get a restraining order against him, and people don't even pay attention to that.
But even I get he did his time. That doesn't
change anything.
Doesn't go. Oh well, It's washed away.
Right.
That's not how these things
The
work.
American carceral system is not a system of reform or rehabilitation.
Yeah, it's not absolution.
I wish it were. I wish they actually did employ some work about rehabilitation, but unfortunately it's not about restorative justice. We want restorative justice where the victim is centered. But our carceral system is where money is centered and where men with power are centered. Like, that's not the same.
And there's more.
Yeah.
There's Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
There's also Russell Simmons, which we've talked about recently.
Child.
And this is actually the one, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing there is this phenomenon where, and I get why some of these people continue to be supported, because you kind of forget. You kind of don't want to know, or you don't want to remember, and so you let the information fall out of your head.
Yeah.
But John Singleton. Yeah. Right? And I remember John Singleton died and we all mourned and we said, oh, he's done such great work. He's done great things. He was an abuser.
He was an abuser.
We never publicly found out who he abused, but he went to court. He lost. He was convicted. This is a convicted abuser. Yeah. And what was so sick to me about John Singleton, and there's a lot of other allegations that have come against him, but in this particular case, what was so sick to me is the punishment that they gave him for the abuse was that he was charged with making a movie about domestic violence. Like, it was a court-ordered movie. Like, make a movie, and that'll be your punishment for the domestic violence that you've done. Yeah. Never made the movie.
Where's the movie?
Never made the movie.
Never happened.
And I was like, how sick? Like,
because they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. And I mean, I really want to add some folks to this list. You know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately, it would be a lot of people, because we have to talk about people who we love too, like the Tupacs. Like, Tupac Shakur was an abusive man. We know that. Snoop Dogg, who people love and they think he's all gentle, this is an abusive man. Like, a lot of these men that folks love so much and love their music or whatever, you know, like, they are absolutely abusive and exploitive to women. There's a reason why Lil' Kim, you know, struggled so much in the industry, because she was being used as a dish rag by Puffy and Biggie and all their people, right? Like, a lot more things make sense now when this stuff comes out. And I want people to stop assuming that these folks are not awful. Maybe that's why, you know, it's easier for me, because I just assume that they're on some fuckery. I just assume that if they are a powerful man and they don't have good people around them, that they're on some shit.
I don't really think that's what it is, if I'm being honest. Okay. I think people lower the bar too much. I think they normalize abuse to a level that is not okay.
You mean like
realistically, we were talking before this episode, we were talking about Diddy and how people have been talking about Diddy the whole time. When Diddy and Cassie were dating, everybody was looking at Cassie like, ooh, Cassie, you in danger, girl. Like, everyone was like, this is not a good look for Cassie. Back when
J-Lo was dating him, people were like, J-Lo, are you okay?
Yeah, we all knew. Yeah. And then, remember there was that whole shooting incident when he was dating? Like, that's right. Like, it was an open secret, like, this is a bad dude, right? But we still...
You're right.
We still watched the videos. We still bought the albums. You're right. We did all that stuff because we're like, well, I mean... You're right. Everyone's probably bad. You're right.
And you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that shit right now. Because... we do it all the time when we normalize shit like Ike Turner memes. Like, we make fun of those Lawrence Fishburne memes where we post him looking at, and I'm guilty of it too. But what we're making light of domestic violence, right? There are ways that, you know, even songs talk about Ike Turner. Eat the Cake Anime is a reference to domestic violence, you know, and this reminds me a lot of LaToya Peterson's article, The Not Rape Epidemic, where she describes all the ways that these actions, that what we're describing here, you know, the intimidation, the just on the edge of physical violence, punching walls, controlling someone's behavior, threatening them, right? As long as there's no evidence, again, air quotes, evidence, it doesn't count as rape. It doesn't count as abuse. It doesn't count as violence. And so a lot of these men who absolutely are abusers, they groom and groom and groom and groom for years until they actually do harm. And by then, the person has been silenced and the community around them has been desensitized to that violence. So I'm going to talk more in the next segment about the community involvement and why that's really the most, in my opinion, the most diabolical part of this story. But I think that it also, to your point, I think you're absolutely right. The normalization of violence is what's gotten us here.
Yeah.
This podcast is supported by generous donations from our patrons and listeners. Become a supporter today by heading to www.patreon.com/colorcombosmedia. You can stream the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. When you listen, please consider hitting that heart button, sharing, giving us a 5-star rating, and leaving some dope comments. This helps us with our page rankings and gets more listeners for the show. Thank you so much.
We are back.
We are back.
And it's time for the conversation.
Oh my gosh, chill.
What you mean chill?
I'm
not gonna chill.
It's time for the conversation.
It is. It's time. And I mean, I feel like we've kind of already half done the conversation.
We have. That was a long. We clearly have a lot of thoughts today. They went in a different order than usual.
There was just no holding back. But let's get into it.
Okay.
Usually I got some stats and some facts and some figures that I want to share with y'all.
Yeah.
I don't really have any today though.
Okay.
I tried to find some. And shockingly, I couldn't find any like hard numbers.
About what exactly?
I was trying to look at abuse and abusers and lying. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find any like actual numbers. There were a lot of things, said by experts and things about how abusers are liars and they're chronic liars and they're known to be liars.
Yeah.
And I thought that was all interesting and I'll share some of that. But there was no, actual numbers. And I feel like the reason there probably were no numbers is it probably would be like the percent of abusers that lie 100%.
Right. It's like that saying, it's like until the lion learns how to write, the story will always favor the hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that.
It's like that. Like there's, why would you have
They're not going to write about themselves.
Right.
Yes.
But yeah, so really quickly, chronic abusers, they are known to be chronic liars and they're known to be excellent actors.
Of course.
Number one, abusers lie to themselves.
Correct.
Right? They like to walk around and say, I'm a great person.
Of course.
I'm so good. I'm doing all this great work. I'm the best person ever.
I'm a good guy.
Everyone loves me.
I'm a nice man.
All those things. They're lying to themselves because they know the truth.
Yes.
They are living the truth. They also really deal in differences between the public and the private. Right? They are living a lie. So what they do is they go out into the world, right? And they generally like to go and specifically work really hard at having a really positive public persona. They like to work with charities and they work with children and they say the right things and they're allies and they do all those things and then they go home and then they abuse somebody.
Good Lord.
And part of it is obviously as a protection. It's part of it is like to shield themselves, but also it gives them power, right? Having that public persona that is positive, it gives them power over the person that they're abusing because they can say, no one will believe you.
That's right.
Everyone loves me.
That's right.
If you say that, everyone's going to look at you and think you're the bad person. They're going to think you're trying to bring a good man down. Right. Right. They do all of this stuff, right? And they also do that because then it makes any allegations that are leveled toward them it always comes as a shock. Like, oh, I just know them as such a nice person. Oh, they've always been great to me.
That's never been my experience with them.
I've never seen them act any way like that at all. What, you've never seen them punch someone in the face, and so you're shocked that they obviously they're not going to do that, right? Obviously, they're not just walking around punching everybody. Right. Abusers don't abuse every single person they ever come into contact with. They pick and choose who they're going to abuse. That's right. They pick and choose people who they mark and see as people that they can have power and control over.
And who they think won't be believed.
Yeah, and that's and then also all of this folds right back into lying, right?
That's right.
Because when they go out into the world and lie, and then someone is shocked that says, wait, someone's saying that that's not true. All they have to do is keep lying.
That's right. That's right.
They can just lie to support the lies that they've already lied to you. And then you believe in the lies. And then the person who's sitting there in the truth just feels ultimately gaslit.
That's right.
The whole world is gaslighting them.
That's right.
And that is how abusers thrive.
Oh God, this is so triggering. I feel like
I know. We won't even go there, but I know.
Yeah. The number of times I've had to explain this to people when they come to me and like, you had an issue with this guy? What? He locked you in a room? Wow, he's never done that to me. I don't think he goes around locking every woman he meets in a room to scream at them. Oh, what? That guy, he screamed at you in a meeting and then he told you that it was your fault? That's just so surprising. And then he tried to actively work to injure your career and make it so that you would drop out of graduate school? That's
what?
That same guy? Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And I think that's the part, I think as someone who frequently has to deal with confrontations from men because I'm larger, as someone who is 6'4", 250 pounds, I'm a big girl, right? And I'm also queer body, gender queer, and present as masculine in a lot of spaces because I have a deeper voice. I'm a PhD. I speak with a lot of heft and I have confidence in myself, which is very intimidating to a lot of men. And for a lot of men who are used to being the biggest personality in the room, having all the power, a lot of them are actually quite insecure, right? They might not feel attractive enough. They might not feel smart enough. And rather than working on themselves, they say, well, I'm going to actually just start harming people and beating them down to a pulp and making their light diminish so I can feel bigger and better about myself. And I think that's actually something that has always come through for me about Diddy, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, and realistically, like you just said, that it's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Right? They go out and they put these lies out and then they abuse someone and then they go out and put more lies out. And it's this self-fulfilling thing of saying, oh, wait, maybe I am really smart. I'm tricking all these people into believing I'm a great person. Look, it's still going on. I'm not getting caught.
Right.
Oh, I'm so good. Oh, I'm so great. Oh, I'm so much better than everyone else. Oh, I deserve this. Oh, I can do this. I can do really outlandish shit and I'll never get caught. And then all of a sudden,
they get caught.
They reach a tipping point.
And the house of cards falls.
Crumbles.
And that's when we get the fake ass apology.
That's when it shows up.
If they ever even apologize. So
and they usually don't.
I really enjoy this tweet from Dr. Jessica Taylor. We'll also put a link to this in the notes. She says, this is a famous man abusing women script. Number 1, ignore. Number 2, it never happened. Number 3, she's just saying it for money. Number 4, she's a liar. 5, I will fight this all the way. 6, I am being falsely accused to destroy my career. 7, it was such a dark time in my life. 8, everyone makes mistakes. No one is perfect. 9, I found God and got therapy. 10, God has forgiven me. I'm only answerable to God now. 11, buy my album, go see my film.
Yeah.
And if that is not exactly what has happened, and what's sick about it to me is like when men come out and say awful things, we're seeing this all over the media right now. I don't even want to say this guy's name, so I'm not going to. But there's a white man who came out. We talked about this. He's a kicker, and he plays that sport with the weird shaped ball. And he said some awful things about women needing to go back to the times where all they wanted to do was have birth and be people's wives and be barefoot and pregnant or whatever. And while some people were like, oh my God, this is awful. Other people were like, yeah, go buy his jersey. And I'm like, this is the problem, right? When Tory Lanana said whatever he said after he was already found guilty of shooting Meg Thee Stallion, he was on his way to jail, and people were like, let's go buy his album and support that black man. Let's go buy his album and support that black man after he shot and was found guilty of. But at first they said, oh, well, he hasn't been found guilty, so it doesn't count yet. But then he was. You see what I'm saying? And this happened with R. Kelly too. Like, it is so disgusting and foul to me when especially black men, I'm not saying only, I'm just saying especially black men support other black men who are known and proven to have done awful things to black women, shooting, maiming, beating, dragging, drugging, assaulting, raping.
Yeah.
And they go, we need to support their album, man. That's just a man out here trying to live his life and build his career.
You know, and one day we're going to do that episode where we talk about this misplaced support for black men.
Listen.
One day we're going to do that episode.
Listen, because let me tell you one thing. Let a black woman do something to a black man. Let a black woman come out and it turns out a black woman shot a black man. First of all, she'd be under the jail.
Yep.
Because we've already seen that before. That happened to Marissa when she shot
in self-defense.
She shot in the ceiling.
Yeah, not even in his direction.
Marissa Alexander shot into the ceiling to protect her newborn child. and was sentenced to prison. Okay. A man who had been beating her. Okay.
Yep.
But not only that, if this were a celebrity, they would do everything they could to tank that woman's career. They would do everything they could to make it out to be some woman who's just trying to bring the black man down. And that is a problem. So this gets into, again, community.
Yes.
Right. So I brought up earlier Ike Turner. And I bring up Ike Turner because I always think back to, what's love got to do with it, and how Tina Turner would be walking around with these bumps and bruises and looking all beat up. And people would be like, ooh, Ike been beating on her. And they just knew it.
I mean, they'd be at the party and he would drag her to the back
out. And they'd be like, ooh, that's rough. But because they were getting paid, because they were living high on the hog, it was like, well, I guess that's the price she got to pay for the rest of us to live our lives.
Exactly.
And that's what I get from Chris Brown's people. That's what I get from Diddy's people. That's what I get from DJ Akademiks people, right? A lot of these powerful men are surrounded by other shitty men who are like, oh, as long as we all come up, I don't really care what you do. That's your business. Like, I don't mind turning away. I don't mind, hiding your secrets. I don't mind acting like that ain't got nothing. The amount of times I've heard a man say that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's your friend, bro. That's your friend.
Just no sense of community.
No sense of community unless it's in getting money. Unless it's in standing on a stage next to them.
Unless there's a benefit for you.
Unless it's a personal benefit. But when that person is out here abusing women, where is this community to step up and say, hey, what's wrong with you? Do better. Where are they? Where are those men? This is why I always say, what is the issue in the community of men where you all don't feel responsible for one another?
And it's wild because there's another thing we talked about when these Diddy allegations popped up recently. Is it's always funny because every time there's some story about Diddy, the media always goes and asks Aubrey O'Day, what are your thoughts on this? And the reason they do that is because ever since she was on Making the Band, she has consistently over and over and over and over said how terrible of a person Diddy is. And people this entire time were like, I don't believe it. She just mad. And then every time something comes out that proves her right, they're like, what does she got to say about it? Because she was right this whole time. And that's the thing, right? She has her comments and her opinions because she was there. Right. She was in the rooms. Right. He talked to her. She talked back. There was treatment. There was legal stuff, all that stuff.
That is her experience firsthand.
Right. That's why she had that stuff to say. Right. She was not in these rooms by herself.
That's right.
There were other people there.
Whole production teams standing
Andre
right
Harrell.
There. Yes.
You gave Diddy a career. He wouldn't be here if not for you.
That's right.
His entire career, he always was like, Andre Harrell.
That's
wow,
right.
You're my icon. It's
That's
all because of you. He been in the rooms too. You trying to tell me?
That's right.
You trying to tell me?
That's right.
No one. He didn't see anything. You trying to tell me no one?
They did.
No one tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Andre, hey, this is going on with me."
They absolutely did. No one will ever tell me they didn't.
It definitely happened.
It happened.
It happened.
It happened. And this is why I always think back to Damon Young, September 19th, 2017, when he said, "Straight black men are the white people of black people." Mm-hmm. That is one of the most iconic phrases to ever come off of the internet in our generation. Mm-hmm. Straight black men are the white people of black people. You are the weakest link. You're the weakest link.
And we will do anything and everything to protect you.
Everything. We have to pay with our bodies. Black women are paying with our bodies, with our livelihoods, not to even consider the black mamas who have these black sons who are out here assaulting, raping, maiming, and beating black women. Mm-hmm. Black sisters, black aunties have these children, and they're looking at their black sons like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Or even worse, if they're not looking at their black sons like that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? This is what we call rape culture. This is a culture that says that black women and women in general, but in particular black women, are disposable and unrapeable. That somehow if black women are harmed, it's because we have ulterior motives. We shouldn't have had those breasts sitting like that or that booty sitting like that. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't have drank that drink. What was you doing drinking that drink? Bitch, being thirsty.
I mean, same thing. Think about Melissa Ford. right?
Yeah.
You know, probably the most iconic, you know, video girl that we had. And, you know, she came out and was just like, I was so many terrible, crazy things, people making passes at me, assuming things, trying to touch me, trying to do. And it's like, I'm here for a job. This is my paycheck.
She's the most iconic, I would say, video vixen of our generation, and still was like, you have no idea the amount of abuse I had to take just going to work.
Just going to work.
So I think, you know, I really, in this episode, what's important to me is that we understand that this is not just about the violence part, but this is also about the community that surrounds abusive people, that allows them to make these fake ass apologies, to do these little, I did some, you know, I was on parole and I had house arrest and I said some kumbayas and I read the rosary or whatever the hell they be doing. But all the while, they're not talking to the victims of their abuse. They're not asking the people who are abused what they need. Pay them money. Retribution and reparations, like show up in a restorative way, show up in community. What are you doing to actually heal the harm? And I just don't see it happening.
And that was the thing that you brought up. It's like you go through that timeline of these abusers trying to do a basically non-apology, and they're doing that as a performance for the public. They're not doing that for the person who's actually harmed.
They're not.
They're doing it to save themselves in some kind of way, to save any little bit of care and love that they might be able to suck out of people.
That's right.
People go, oh, look, oh, he feels bad. Oh, let's let him. We don't want him to be destitute. We don't want him to lose his livelihood, right? Meanwhile, we're talking about celebrities.
Right.
And someone like Diddy, like, he could stop making money right now.
He'd be fine for the rest of his life.
He could not make another cent.
Right.
You trying to tell me he don't have investments?
Right.
You trying to tell me he don't have
But also, why are we
homes?
prioritizing his money and his ends over the lives of however many black women he's harmed? We don't even know who else has been harmed by people like Diddy.
Right.
There could be countless others.
I'm pretty sure there are countless others because, as you said earlier, right, where's the proof?
Right.
And if there's no proof, what advantage do they have for coming forward and saying something? All they're going to get is told that they're liars, that they're stealing money, that, you know, they don't have fame and now they want their 5 seconds of fame. They're not going to get the actual justice that they want.
Especially if there's somebody who's coming up, a background dancer, a new rapper, or someone who back in the day, like Lil' Kim, who was still trying to get out there. When they pumped Lil' Kim's stomach, they said that she had so many human fluids in her stomach that she should not have survived that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So honestly, this is something where we have to get serious, right? Get serious about the impacts and the consequences for Black women and for women of color. This is a systemic and community-based problem.
You can find my mom and dad, aka That Black Couple, on the web at thatblackcouple.com. That Black Couple is owned and operated by Color Combos Media. If you would like to help fund our content, sign up at www.patreon.com/colorcombosmedia. Please consider giving us $5 or $10 per month to help us build our platform and grow our organization. You can also give one-time donations at www.paypal.me/colorcombosmedia. All donations are welcome.
Okay, we back.
We are back.
And this is the reflection. And I want to reiterate. Is there a tri-iterate? I want to make sure it's super iterated. That, you know, this is not about just Black men. Obviously, I always focus on Black people because I'm Black. And this podcast is about Black people. But we know that obviously non-Black folks are also abusive. And that a lot of the men in high society who are actively abusing folks are white men. You know, we know that Kevin Spacey still exists. This nigga just walking around, and Sharon Stone coming out talking about he should be let back into the industry because he's so good at acting. He's also an abuser, ma'am.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson is like, we miss him, sir. We don't like you either because you're the one that said you want to walk down the street and punch a Black man just because you saw him. Okay.
And they were using their position
right
as a means to do the abuse.
Right. So I'm not going to sit here and people are always like, why don't you talk about Trump and Biden and Weinstein? And because I don't talk about white people generally in my personal life. It's not a thing that I do. So here, I said it. Okay. But there is one white dude I want to bring up because he abused a black woman, and that's Shia LaBeouf. And Shia LaBeouf turned up this week. He was dressed up and he had a new beard. And one of the first things I saw on my social media was a bunch of women being like, "Oh, Shia got that beard. He is zaddy now." And I was so fucking disgusted. Shia LaBeouf, if you all look this up, it is gruesome and disgusting what he did to FKA Twigs. But he terrorized her. He's an awful person. He is emotionally abusive, physically abusive, and sexually abusive. He has done many things to her. I really don't want to name them all. I don't want to name any of them, honestly. But he put it like this: there were a lot of things he did without her consent. You know, there are health issues that she will have for the rest of her life because of him. And the number of people I saw online who were essentially like, well, he might be different now. It's been 4 years. That is really concerning to me. How people are so willing to allow folks to just kind of go away and sulk somewhere, and then come back as long as they're quiet and obsequious and they say, please, 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 please. And then they're just like, sure, you're cute. It's fine. Fucking do better. Like do better. Like do better.
Honestly, though, it's like, this is that short memory thing. And this was something you told me about this week that blew my mind. Is that you had a student and they were like, what? We don't like Dr. Dre. What's wrong with Dr. Dre? And because they're like, I'm a fan of his. And it's one of those things where, like you said, people just let something go.
They have no idea.
They let time pass and then they just act like it didn't happen. And there's enough people who will forget or who weren't present or just didn't hear it. And then they just act like people it just wasn't there.
My response to that was, wow. And the person said, ma'am, I'm 20. I'm sorry. And I had to give it to him like, you are 20. You right. But that also says a lot about how these people know that if they just go away for a bit and the news just doesn't follow them for a little while, maybe it'll get buried under something else. And that is also this kind of manipulative abuser dynamic of, here's how I'm going to just kind of, rather than be fully accountable, because what I would argue is that you should stay there. You should sit in that shit. You should, because that person that you've abused has no choice but to face that shit every single day for the rest of their life. They have to heal through it. They have to do the work of it. They have to restore. They have to do it. They have no choice. Those images never leave. They never leave. So the idea that you can just go away somewhere and come back when you're good and ready and then you get to just return to normal is really fucked up. So I think that people should stay. They should sit there and we should require that they stay. Don't run away. Don't be no punk ass bitch. You was sitting there abusing somebody in the shadows and in the dark and it came to light. Bitch, stay in the light.
I mean, what's that dude? Remember when there was that whole thing on Grey's Anatomy where the black dude,
Isaiah Washington.
He said a slur.
But he's an awful person.
Right, he's an awful person. But I'm just saying, like, he just said a slur.
Yeah.
Against a gay actor on the show.
He did.
And that man near lost his career, had to
That's
publicly
correct.
go to rehab, had to publicly apologize.
That's correct.
Did all these things, which he should have to do.
That's
to
correct.
be clear.
That's correct.
But all because he said a word.
That's correct.
Right. And then he said, I shouldn't have said it. That was bad.
That's correct.
I apologize. You know what? Yep. Fire me from the show. I earned that. Right.
That's
he
right.
had to do all of that.
That's right.
To eke out a little bit of a career
That's
after.
right.
We are talking about people that assault, brutalize
women, right?
Like you said, terrorize emotionally, mentally. They're doing like irrevocable harm on people, and we're like, oh,
slap on the wrist.
That was a while ago.
You got a beard now? Come on back.
That is wild to me.
Because you know what? That harm was to a white man. That harm was to a white man, and the value placed on the bodies and the lives and the identities of white men, especially white gay men.
There it is.
Absolutely not.
And the other thing that came to mind, going into this episode and thinking about all the things that we just discussed, was, we are really trying to, I think, in having this conversation, is center the people who are actually victimized.
Right.
Right. Like, the problem with these conversations a lot of times is we end up focusing on the abuser because they're the one doing the thing.
Right.
But we also always have to bring it back to those who have been abused. Right. Because they are the ones who have been harmed.
That's right.
Right. And one of the things that's been recent in the news was this whole beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake.
That's right.
And they were firing back songs. And
Drake lost.
TKO. Like,
TKO, bro. Why'd you come to the fight? I'm not
get
coming.
Get him in the ambulance,
Yeah, bro.
But part of it, I will say, I'm not even sure I listened to all the Kendrick songs because he released so many.
There's too many.
But as we listened to them, it made me uncomfortable.
Same.
And the reason that they really made me uncomfortable was he kept digging in Drake's ass about pedophilia.
Yeah.
And number one, like, there's no comeback from that. Like, you can't, like, what's your response to that? Like, you basically won. The second you brought that up, it's like, okay, it's over. But like the fact that he did it over and over, I was like, I don't know that we need to keep saying this over and over.
Yeah.
And then also, like, I don't know if this is really fodder for a rap beef.
Yeah.
This to me is fodder for, like, the
intervention,
authorities.
bitch.
This is,
Yeah.
How what are we doing to protect?
Also, if y'all know
anyone?
this in the industry, why is this coming out in a song?
Right. That's like, what are we, like, excuse me. What?
Oh my God.
That's like saying, oh, Drake, we don't fuck with him because, he killed 10 people and got away with it. Wait,
like,
what? Hold on. You know that he killed 10 people? Why are we not taking steps to get this killer off the streets?
Right.
Like, Drake's a pedophile? Wait, why are we just letting him walk around? I don't know. All right, this is okay. And that's the thing, right? That's why I say we're doing all this, and what happens is this all becomes commoditized.
Yes.
Right. When Diddy gets on the internet and does this really terrible ass apology, and then we start making memes about it, and we start, putting beats behind it, and we are commoditizing something that, if we're being really honest, is very traumatic.
Yes.
For someone.
Yes.
If you are Cassie, like, I'm not even going to really try to put myself fully in Cassie's shoes because I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I can just imagine, like, this video of you being publicly brutalized in the hallway of a hotel where anyone could have been walking, right? That's now public and it's out in the world forever and everyone's watching it. And the person who did it records a video and people make fun of it. Where in that are we being sensitive to the person who was actually hurt and harmed in the situation?
Right.
And I think that's, getting back to what you said in the conversation about community, right? That's the other aspect of community. One, holding the person accountable who's doing the abuse, but then also being there in support for the person who's been abused.
That's right. Centering the person who's been harmed. Like, why is that so hard for people? Why is that so confusing? If somebody's harmed and that person over there did it, why can't that person be like, hey, I should not have done that. And I'm really sorry I did that. And I don't ever want to do it again. And I really want to figure out how to best not do it again. And it's not your job to teach me. I would like it if you would like to tell me how to not do it, but I'm going to actually do the work and the labor so that I can be a better person and not do this again. Why is the fuck is wrong with people?
It reminds me of, like, the schoolyard when you get in trouble and your parents like, now apologize to so-and-so.
For that thing.
It's like we have lost.
Right.
That very basic,
because you know what?
lesson.
Social media has us so bent on this, like, reputation and, like, oh, this is going to follow me for the rest of my career. It should, bitch. It should follow you. But
also, it could, what could also follow you is you handling it appropriately.
Exactly.
That real, like, really actually facing what you did, taking real accountability for it and growing from it, being an example of how to manage these situations. That could also be something that follows you throughout your career.
Why you're afraid of being canceled? You should be afraid of being an awful, shitty person who harms people. Don't be afraid of being canceled. Be afraid of doing awful things. The focus is off. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about us. I'm concerned about my children. I'm concerned about living in a society where people are so wrapped up in what things look like and who they're pretending to be that they commit all type of harms against other people And then the community around them are like, that's okay. Pay me.
Yep.
I like your songs. It's okay. I like your movies. It's okay.
We need to be able to all stand on something. I hope everyone that's listening takes what we're saying to heart.
Yeah.
Stand on morals.
Have some
stand
principles.
on ethics, right? And the more people that do it, the stronger, the bigger the community is.
Right.
The more safe and insulated we are.
Have the courage. Have the courage to actually have principles and stick to them. It's hard work, but it's worth doing. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also text the word BEGIN, BEGIN, to 88788. You can also contact the National Sexual Assault Telephone Hotline number at 1-800-656-HOPE or 1-800-656-4673. These are resources available to you at all times, and they're 100% confidential. Be well.